Good evening, and welcome to the May 2015 Candidates Forum for the City of Gladstone Commissioners. My name is Shannon Taylor, and I will serve as moderator for tonight's forum. Tonight's forum is sponsored by the Delta County League of Women Voters, the American Association of University Women, and the Delta County Area Chamber of Commerce. At this time, we would like to thank Charter Communications and WDBC Radio for including our audience at home by providing airtime. We also thank the City of Gladstone for the use of council chambers. Thanks to our local media for publicizing tonight's forum, and a special thanks to our audience for your participation. Tonight we will hold two forums. The first will be for the contested candidates for the Gladstone City Commissioners. I will explain the specific rules of the forum and introduce the Gladstone candidates. We welcome the candidates for the 4-year term, of which there are 3 open seats. 4 candidates are seeking 2 partial terms ending November 11, 2017. Joseph Mackey, Hugo Mattinen, and Joe Thompson. Stephen View was unavailable. Dave Nemechek is uncontested for the partial term ending November 3, 2015. Again, welcome and thank you. Our candidates in alphabetical order will make their 1-minute opening statement and respond to questions. This will be a rotating response order. Each candidate will be given 1 minute to respond to each of the questions asked. Please refer to the timer in the front row. A beep will sound when your 60 seconds are up. The question will then be asked of the next candidate. The forum will end with each candidate giving a 1-minute closing statement. As this is a forum and not a debate, candidates are asked to respond only to the questions asked by the moderator. You are, however, free to address any appropriate issue during your opening and closing remarks. Audience members are free to submit as many questions as they would like. As many questions as time permits will be read and answered. Now, if our candidates have no further questions, we will proceed with opening statements. Joseph Mackey, welcome. You have the floor for 1 minute, beginning now.
Well, I welcome everybody here tonight. I think we all know we have a wonderful community. I've been a part of this community my entire life, and I've served this community as a city staff person, now as a member of the City Commission. And it saddens me that in a time where those that are willing to provide leadership in such difficult financial times also must defend their decisions with a level of negativity that has recently divided our community. This is the time when working together should be the most important focus. The reason we're here today speaks volumes regarding the challenges being faced throughout the state, and it's important to understand that this is not unique to the City of Gladstone. All communities across the state are being asked to make difficult decisions regarding what services are essential and should be funded, and many are working to pull together positive ideas and resources to keep their community solid. There are 2 challenges that face the current City Commission that we need to address: lack of growth in our tax base and a loss of over $200,000 in state revenue sharing, along with tax revenue losses from legislative property tax exemptions, such as the elimination of commercial, industrial, personal property taxes.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Mr. Mattinen, you have the floor for 1 minute, beginning now.
Thank you. My name is Hugo Mattinen. I've been a lifelong resident of Delta County for, well, my whole life, 62 years, you know. I spent the last 40-plus years in Gladstone. I've had an opportunity to serve on the City Commission different times. I've spent, I think, 14 years plus in the City Commission. These past 5 or 6 years have probably been the most challenging times that I can remember in my political life, and these aren't going to end soon. This is going to be an ongoing problem for a number of years because it's taken us a while to get into this situation, this scenario. There's going to have to be some things that take place that, quite frankly, even at the local level, we only have so much control over. It's going to have to come right from the top down, and hopefully one of the things I think, and I'm going to put in a little promo for this, is Proposal 1. I believe this is.
Thank you, Mr. Mattinen. Yeah. Mr. Nemechek, you have the floor for 1 minute, beginning now.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming. I came here in 1969 to run Northern Motor Company, and after that I got involved in Henson Saline. So for over 40 years I was running my own businesses, and I retired when my wife got sick, and now that I'm by myself, I thought I had time to give back some to the City of Gladstone. So I ran for the 2-year term thinking, well, if I don't like it real well, it's only 2 years. and that expires in November. I was surprised with the finances of the city. You know, the city only has a $100 million tax base. So one mill only generates $100,000. And you heard Joe say that we lost over $200,000 in state revenue. Well, that represents over 2 mills to the city of Gladstone. And Gladstone was trying to run on 13.7 mills, and that was probably one of the lowest millages in the whole state of Michigan. I know in the UP it was, because I checked on the internet. So we reinstated the 1.8 mills, and I made the motion, and obviously Hugo and Joe voted yes, and that caused the recall. But we're still only at 15.5 mills.
Thank you, Mr. Nemechek. Mr. Thompson, you have the floor for 1 minute, beginning now.
My name is Joe Thompson, and I was born and raised in a small family business on Delta Avenue in Gladstone, the former Star Market. My wife and I have 3 children, which we are raising in Gladstone, have been. One at Michigan Tech, one at U of M, and one at Gladstone High School. I'm a veteran of the Air Force and the Army National Guard. I've got 29 years of experience in industrial maintenance and engineering. I have managed and coordinated a lot of projects, big projects, brought them in on budget and on time. And I understand how to work within and maximize a limited budget. I have a lot of knowledge, but I'm wise enough to know that I don't know everything, and I know how to network with people to get the answers to make the right decisions. I believe I would bring a lot of value to the Gladstone City Commission, and I'd welcome the opportunity to serve on the commission and try to help with the problems that the city faces. Thank you all for coming, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. View, you have the floor for 1 minute, beginning now.
I'm glad to be here. I threw my ring into the hat. I have a different perspective on citizens of Gladstone, their budget, the way things are ran in the city. I've had a lot of dealings personally with all my businesses in Gladstone, with my resident in Gladstone, with my kids wanting to come back here. And I basically believe that everyone here has a good philosophy. It's just a matter of what philosophy you want to utilize on the commission. Mine's going to be not a lot of spending if you don't have the money. I personally am affected by that through city, state, federal, different things like that. I just feel my input would be a little different. I can throw a couple little different angles on things, and I ran a lot of businesses. I knew how to cut corners without cutting quality on a lot of items. And basically, I just wanted to see if I could have some input, and I'd be proud to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. View. That concludes opening statements. We will now proceed with questions submitted from the audience. Since the opening statement began with Mr. Mackey, we will now move on to Mr. Matanen to answer the first audience question. Mr. Matanen, what makes you the best candidate for this position?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, I think I've been around long enough to understand what makes a city run. I understand budgets, understand that people need services, and I understand priorities, I think. I'm not an idea person, but I think I can recognize good ideas. I think that's one of my strong suits. So I think I have the ability to make good decisions.
Thank you. Mr. Nemechek?
My experience in business qualifies me in many ways. However, I've had an adjustment period because whenever you do something with the city, it involves hearings and you just can't get things done as quickly. But the process is good because that involves the citizenry. My education is, I have a master's degree in business from University of Michigan. I mean, that was a long time ago, but it gave me the footing, and I worked for Sears, I worked for Ford, and I went through all their training programs. It's basically my background and my education.
Thank you, Mr. Nemechek. Mr. Thompson?
I have a lot of experience in the last 15 years. I've been working in the paper industry, and I understand, shrinking budgets and, working with less people and, trying to to make the best out of what you have. And I think, you know, that perspective, I'm hoping that I could come to the city commission here and apply that same perspective that we're using in the private sector, and hopefully be able to help with, you know, the problems that are facing the city.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. View?
I would have to say the best qualities that I would bring that would be different from these gentlemen, which have all good qualities. I wish I had some of their education. I would say listening to the people when it doesn't have to do with public safety, public health, the core things you're always going to have. But there's a lot of things out there that the citizens want, and my goal is to kind of make Gladstone a place where people will say, hey, there's a house for sale there. I want to buy my house in Gladstone. I think, you know, the tax base is low according to the records, but the cost of living here, anyone can afford to buy anything. They borrow the money. But look what's happening to our businesses down here. Look what happens to people when they look for houses. They don't come directly to Gladstone, but once the price lowers, they end up coming here. So I think, you know, just my life experience and being involved with all that stuff, I would probably listen to the people on some of the stuff that is minor.
Thank you, Mr. View. Mr. Mackey?
I think I'd be the best candidate because I have the most experience in city finances. When I was first elected in November of 2009, the city's general fund was in a negative almost $29,000. We've rebuilt the fund balance up. We've done it at a cost. We've done it at the cost of our employees' benefits. We've done it at the cost of not replacing capital items like your snowplow equipment, your fire trucks, doing the maintenance we need to do on City Hall and on our Public Works building. I have led the City Commission to a plan that will be eventually presented to the people to grow out of our deficit by growing new tax base. And if that is not successful, what we do as a community to begin to cut services, because one of the two will have to happen, and I will lead. And as the mayor, I have followed up on all complaints I've ever received as I've been with the mayor, with staff. And when I voted to raise taxes, it hit me harder than it hit most homeowners in town. So I think that's leading by example.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Our second question will start with Mr. Nemechek. Mr. Nemechek, over the years, Gladstone has not enacted allowable city tax increases to meet projected city building and vehicle maintenance and replacement, personnel needs, and annual increases in retirement costs. Do you plan to increase needed city revenue, and if so, by how much?
Well, that was one of the questions I answered on the internet. And I made the motion for the 1.3, to reinstate the 1.8 mills. We are going to be asking the citizens for a yes vote on a bond proposal in November, which will be a bond proposal that will, there's plaques on the wall here, to replace some of the aging equipment and do repairs and possible replacement on a few of the aging buildings. And that will probably get us maybe another 2 or 3 mills. So that being done, I think that would be a minimum of what, so that'll get us somewhere around between 17 and 18 mills. And that'll put us on the low end of average in the UP. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nemechek. Mr. Thompson?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Certainly. Over the years, Gladstone has not enacted allowable city tax increases to meet projected city building and vehicle maintenance, replacement personnel needs, and annual increases in retirement costs. Do you plan to increase needed city revenue, and if so, by how much?
I'm really not for just hitting the easy button and just jumping taxes up. I'd really like to see more data and get a better perspective on, you know, how bad the city really is and whether there's other things that could be done before doing that, because I'm afraid that, you know, if we raise taxes too high, we're never going to get anybody to buy a house in this town right now. I meet a lot of new people that come to the area with jobs at the place that I work, and the first thing I hear out of people's mouths is, you know, "Oh, I'm not going to buy a house in Gladstone because the total taxes are just too high." So they end up moving to the townships, or, you know, even some of them have gone to Escanaba. So I'm not really for, you know, just, you know, hitting everybody with more taxes. I'd really like to, you know, see some more creative methods to try to minimize that, to not just go after the easy button right off the bat.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. View?
First off, I'm never in favor of a tax increase as a first resource. I would need to be informed, basically how the city runs, because I'm not really informed how they run their budgets or anything like that. So to me, that's pretty important to get educated in that area. It's also important to, let's see, I had a couple of notes here that I was gonna read about. The retirement. To me, that was a big issue years ago, and why is it still an issue today? Why are, you know, like the equipment and that, why, and I'm not blaming anyone here or anyone that's on the commission now, but why weren't things put in place where all this stuff would be taken care of at one time or another? I don't understand it. I mean, you got master plans all over Gladstone that looks, I've heard sometime 100 years ahead of what we're going to do with our property, you know, 5-year plan, 10-year plans, and spending millions of dollars in the future. I just feel we need to look at it like that, you know, and find out what we can do ahead of time so this stuff doesn't hit us like it is now.
Thank you, Mr. View. Mr. Mackey?
Yeah, I heard the term hit the easy button, and I really object to that. Not personally, but at this, we have not hit the easy button. We have studied this issue. We're aware of what's going on. And just to give you an example, we expect our firemen to fight fires with a substandard fire truck, and we've been continually questioned at public meetings about why we're replacing the fire truck. If I was a fireman in Gladstone, I'd seriously consider resigning from my position if I heard a public official say something like that, which I will never say to our people. I will take care of the needs of this community as long as I'm a member of the community. We could not predict that the state would cut $200,000 worth of revenue sharing by cutting business taxes in Michigan to make Michigan a more friendly business state. And we could not predict that our tax base would drop out. So we need to rebuild our tax base so that we can provide for the items we know we need to be replaced. We're not hitting any easy buttons.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Mr. Mattinen?
In my opinion, the city has some needs far beyond our current budget that need to be addressed. Public Works equipment replacement. Our equipment is a shambles. Public Works facility, fire truck replacement, and just to sustain personnel levels at public safety for long term, something has to happen here. And I believe that, in my opinion, to accomplish all of the above, it would probably take an additional, for at least the foreseeable future, 2.5 to 3 mills. Now, I don't know where this is going to end up, and we're still in discussion. We're going to be meeting with, obviously, the commission, staff, the voters of this community are all going to be in discussion over the next few months to come up with some a priority as to what we really want to do, and there could be a combination of this. So it's long from over, but hopefully we'll be able to put something forward to the people to vote on and let the people decide. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mattinen. We'll begin our next question with Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, do you see the Little Badenoch Trail as one of your priorities? Are there other future projects that you think the city should prioritize?
I don't see the Little Badenoch Trail. You're referring to the one along the lake. I don't see it as a priority. I mean, yeah, it would be nice to have that trail along the lake. I'm sure a lot of people would use it. I really don't think that, you know, it's something that Gladstone should be pursuing. You know, most of it's not even in the Gladstone city limits. I don't know, you know, what, it'll bring benefit to a few people of Gladstone, but will it bring benefit to everybody in Gladstone? I don't know that I believe that it will. And I don't think it'll bring any revenue or increase our tax base, or, you know, I really don't think it's going to do anything for Gladstone other than look nice along the lake.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. View?
What was that question again?
Do you see the Little Badenoch Trail as one of your priorities? Are there other future projects that you think the city should prioritize?
Now, I'm not familiar with the Badenoch Trail. Is that the one I read in the paper where it's going out to P Road or something, or? Okay.
Right along the bay.
Okay. As a priority, no. Cost effectiveness for what it's gonna serve, I have no idea. I see it's gonna cost a lot of money. Who's gonna maintain it? It would be nice. We all have wishes. We all have wants. But what is needed mostly in Gladstone, I don't know if that is something that the city should, and its departments should take on if they got to maintain it or stuff, because I don't even know who's going to maintain it or who you're going to get for it. There's probably a lot of people that would use it, but don't we have other facilities here they can walk, trail around, stuff like that, that would be closer to Gladstone? If it connected to Escanaba, where's it going? Is there a place? Is there a destination? I'm not that familiar to find out if it connects right with Escanaba, which I don't know. As far as any other things, I guess I'm up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. View. Mr. Mackey?
I'm actually surprised there's opposition to this. The State League of Cities is very much in favor of walkable communities, cool cities. Young people today are looking for communities where they can stay in the core community and not own a vehicle and be able to walk. And yes, it does connect with Escanaba, and it could connect with Rapid River as well to connect all the communities along the waterfront. I was concerned about maintenance costs, but we are working with the townships that surround us for joint sharing of maintenance costs. It will be an incredible project. Gladstone is becoming a very, very walkable community. I live on the waterfront, and people walk by my house every day during warm weather, even during cold weather. This is an excellent addition, and it's not going to cost the taxpayers anything in the way of millage. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Mr. Mattinen?
I agree with what Commissioner Mackey has said wholeheartedly. To add to that, I would just say, is it a priority compared to fixing our streets, plowing snow, having a public safety department, meeting the basic needs, garbage pickup? Absolutely not. But those monies that are scheduled for that project cannot be used in any other way for the city of Gladstone. So, you know, it doesn't do any good to say, well, no, we don't want it. Of course we want it. And why wouldn't we want it? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mattinen. Mr. Nemechek?
It's not a top priority, but I know that it's going to be grant money, or hopefully, I mean, that's the only way it's going to happen. And it'll really be nice for a lot of people. I know my wife and a lot of her friends, and I know a lot of people enjoy walking, and it all adds to the quality of life. Like Hugo said, you know, I think one of our top priorities citywide is probably to improve our streets. A lot of the pavement is getting awfully rough. But for quality of life, I think the trail would add a lot.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nemechek. Our next question will begin with Mr. View. Mr. View, why does the city of Gladstone purchase a lot of mulch from Flint's Flowers when Gladstone has its own composting system? Is this an expense that should be cut?
I didn't know they purchased it. I have no idea what they pay for it or anything. I have to be honest, you know. I mean, maybe once I get involved and start knowing the reasons behind things, I feel anything the city does, they should look internally first to the local businesses, and if it's comparable in price, in quality, and they get the right references, they should buy locally. I mean, support the community that supports the city. But basically, Flynn's and I guess I have nothing else to say on it. So, I mean, I'm sure I'm going to be, the other gentlemen will know a lot more about it because they're privy to what the city does. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. View. Mr. Mackey?
That's a question that's never come up before, and so I'm kind of at a loss, so I'm going to have to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to assume, and I think I'm correct on this, but I could be wrong, that the quality of the mulch from Flynn's is far greater than the quality of the mulch that comes out of the compost facility, which is really pretty crude. So I'm assuming it's a quality issue, but I've never even heard that question before, and if someone would have brought it to the attention of the city commission, it would have been addressed by staff at a commission meeting. So that's the best answer I can give you right now.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Mr. Mattinen?
That would be my obvious answer to it. It must have something to do with the quality of the product. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Mattinen. Mr. Nemechek?
This is news to me. I had no idea, but I agree. I agree that we should buy locally. We should buy from our local businesses. There may have been a bidding process too. I have no idea, but I think we should buy locally if we possibly can. And we have a compost area up there. I know that. I don't know. I don't know why that couldn't work, but this is something I don't know about.
Thank you, Mr. Nemechek. Mr. Thompson?
I don't know anything about the mulch myself. I mean, I've not even, up at the composting site, I've used some of the other stuff up there, the compost, and, you know, it was very acidic, and it really wasn't very good for growing. I was trying to grow bulbs in it, and it wasn't very good for that. I didn't know we had mulch up there, so I don't know how somebody would jump to getting it from there, because I've never seen it up there myself.
Thank you very much.
I feel better now.
We'll start our next question with Mr. Mackey. Mr. Mackey, how will the outcome of Proposal 1 affect the budget of the City of Gladstone?
Initially, it won't have a great effect on the city of Gladstone. There will be a little bit of a bump up in our revenues, but in, I think it's year 3, Commissioner Matt is actually our expert on this from the commission level, since he just recently attended a capital conference meeting. I think the numbers are like perhaps as high as $300,000 we might be able to achieve in the out years to be able to address the streets. The citizens of Gladstone have been fortunate. Back around 1970, the city started improving the streets, curb and gutter, and stormwater collection systems, and those streets are worn out. And we need new revenue to start addressing the streets, and even that will only be it'll help, but it certainly isn't going to address the problem of the condition of the city streets. So, and the Michigan Municipal League is advising all cities to be in favor of this proposal. They think it's the best deal the cities can get from the state legislature and our governor.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Mr. Mattinen?
Yes, Proposal 1, actually, I think is maybe one of the best proposals I've seen in years. I think it addresses the funding problem and structure they've had with roads better than any other proposal or idea. Mr. Mackey is right in that in the third year we would receive in Gladstone approximately $302,000 based on today's usage of fuel. It would also give us another maybe $47,000 to $50,000 in revenue sharing money. Now that can go a long way, because that would give us about maybe a 55 or 60% increase in funding over what we're taking in now. And it can also be used to use financial aid coming from the federal government, because part of the problem we've had is we can't access our 90% because we don't have our 10% to match it. So that $300,000 could really grow and multiply many times over, used on certain projects. So I'm excited about the proposal. I think it's a win-win for the state of Michigan.
Thank you, Mr. Mattinen. Mr. Nemechek?
Would you repeat the question, please?
Most certainly. How will the outcome of Proposal 1 affect the budget of the City of Gladstone?
Well, I heard Commissioner Mattinen talk about this at the commission, and everything he just said is what I know. So, I mean, I was excited to know that we were going to increase our, if it passes, we'll get more revenue sharing, which, as he said, can be multiplied over by the federal money and the matches that are needed. So I think Proposal 1, you know, they're trying to simplify it on the TV and advertising, say, you know, vote for Proposal 1 to fix our roads. There's more to it than that, but I'm really excited that we're possibly going to get more money from the state, because the cutbacks that we've had have really hurt us a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Nemechek. Mr. Thompson?
I really can't speak to the questions. I'm not really that familiar with Proposal 1 and what it'll do for the city itself. I've heard everything that's been said on the radio, and I have good intentions to try to read it, and I haven't read it yet, but hopefully I'll do that before I vote on it. But I really don't know what it'll do for the city, so I really can't say.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. View?
even with all the input from the other four, I still don't know much about it. I thought I'd learned something from them today. I think it's kind of confusing. I've read it a couple times. I've talked to different people in the community out of the area about it, and there's mixed feelings about it. But if what they say is true, the other commissioners at the beginning, Commissioner Mackey and Commissioner Matanen, and if it does pass, because it's the citizens that have to pass it throughout the whole state, it's extra money for Gladstone. I'm just hoping if it's 300,000, extra 50,000 for this, that somehow that can be passed on to the citizens to relieve the tax burden the city has on them for a lot of the stuff that they do. That's all I'm looking at, and I think the state will determine where it goes. But I hate to see us raise everything here, do all this stuff here, and then all of a sudden in the end, they start getting all this extra money, and it doesn't help us out at all here. That's, you know, that would be my input on it.
Thank you, Mr. View. We'll start our next question with Mr. Matanen. Mr. Matanen, what are your ideas for attracting new business in Gladstone in existing storefronts or new construction?
Well, actually, the city is working on something now that Commissioner Gay and Commissioner Mackey have been spearheading, and that's to identify all the properties that we have in Gladstone that the city owns, and then through a process that is probably going to take many months, in reality, with the citizens of this community, we go over those properties to see what properties could be sold, possibly, and what would be the best development for those properties. And because we need to increase our tax base, because we've been flatlined for a number of years. And so I think that process is going to be an interesting one. I think it could be very important for the community, and I think we have some real potential in this community to grow with that.
Thank you, Mr. Matanen. Mr. Nemechek?
I think that we have to be more proactive, particularly in the relation to downtown. Back in the 70s, I was trying to develop a shopping center over where the Methodist Church and McDonald's is now located, and the city of Gladstone did their best to stop me, and eventually did stop me. But at that time, we had a very interested Schneider drugstore. Our town doesn't have a drugstore, and Schneider Drugs is a logical store that would be in Gladstone. So I think we have to be more proactive, and we have to identify our voids, identify our opportunities, and then I think we have to contact Schneider Drugstore. I think we have to zero in on what we don't have and what are the opportunities, and I hope to do some of that this summer myself. And I hope to get in touch with Schneider Drugs, because that's the way I think we're going to improve ourselves.
Thank you, Mr. Nemechek. Mr. Thompson?
I think we have to, you know, Gladstone's a great community, and, you know, I wouldn't live here if it wasn't. But we need to keep the costs down so that it's attractive to businesses to come here. Because, you know, when you put in a new business, I mean, you've got to bring in a lot of people. There's a lot of overhead there, and, you know, we have to, you know, make it cost attractive to a business, and we also have to get the people here to support the business. You know, Gladstone at one time had a full downtown, you know, J.C. Penney, shoe stores, grocery stores, all that. And gradually, it just all deteriorated and disappeared because we couldn't keep people in Gladstone. Everybody left. Everybody ran to Escanaba or Marquette to shop, and, you know, and then, you know, we've got to get that back, and we need something exciting to do that. You know, like a new restaurant or a brewery like Bell's Brewery. That, you know. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. View?
How to retain or attract businesses? Well, I've run 2-3 businesses here, and I'm proud to be in Gladstone. Do I have difficulty here? Once in a while. I think Gladstone offers a lot of opportunities for the business owners. I don't know if it's out there. They have little grants and little things like that. The worst thing I run into in doing things business-wise in Gladstone is rules and regulations and the cost of doing them. And also when you don't have the population here. So if you don't have the people that live in the community and you can offer a competitive product, excuse me, and it's so simple when this highway came in, how Gladstone went down, and now it's even worse when they took the Delta Avenue turn in here. It's easy to go an extra 5 miles to get everything you want in another town. So it's just a matter of personal preference. And I see people locally that just travel. Yeah, I even do it, you know. But if it ain't here, you're not going to buy it.
Thank you, Mr. View. Mr. Mackey?
Everybody would love to have more business in Gladstone, and everybody can remember what it was like when Gladstone had a lot more business, but the key point was just hit on. If you turn your head and you look at that map, that highway went through 50 years ago, and Gladstone has yet to react to that and put businesses where they have the chance to see traffic. Traffic is what drives business. We try to get people to go down Delta Avenue, but it's not a natural traffic flow. We have the Downtown Development Authority that has been quite successful with marketing when they have events in the downtown area. But still, that's not very much. This is largely a waterfront residential community, and if we develop some waterfront areas, I think it's logical to assume that alongside of the high-quality residential development that you could attract on a waterfront, you'd probably also see some commercial development. But that's the problem Gladstone faces. It's a beautiful community to live in, but we don't have a lot of commercial businesses because of our proximity to Escanaba, and let's face it, we all can get in an automobile and go to Wisconsin, and that's the choice a lot of people make.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Our next question will begin with Mr. Nemechek. Mr. Nemechek, do you feel the city of Gladstone is adequately staffed? What, if any, changes would you make, and in what departments?
Well, as I said earlier, I understand that Gladstone had 52 full-time employees, and when I joined the commission, there were 37. There are now 39 because the cashier became full-time and we added a public safety officer. I would add one more person to Public Works. There was a person that transferred from Public Works over to the electric department. I would also add one more public safety officer because in order to be 24/7, we should not have public safety officers traveling alone at night in a squad car at night. And also, I think we have a need for a detective. We don't have a detective anymore. So those would be the additional staff that I would recommend.
Thank you, Mr. Nemechek. Mr. Thompson?
I'd have to really see the numbers and see how many people actually work for the city. I've not seen a good org chart, and picking through the website, I can't really get a good view of what the city is comprised of for employees. I agree with adding the other police officer. That was a good thing. Police officers should never be traveling alone anywhere. So, based on what I see right now, I would say it's adequately staffed, but, without, seeing exactly what we have, I wouldn't say to add any more yet.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. View?
Well, once again, I have to say I'm not familiar with the duties and responsibilities of city employees, the departments, what it entails. But I can say one thing. I do agree with, what they're doing with public safety. I also, what boggles me is I read in the paper, I don't know how many years ago, when I was so happy when I seen the commission vote in that new garbage pickup, not only because of the Seagull problem, because it said it's going to save $70,000 in so many man-hours of work. And I thought to myself over the next couple of weeks, maybe my garbage stuff and that will come down 50 cents or a buck. And what really blew my mind is after that, within the next few months, it doubled. And there may be a reason for it, but I have no idea because I wasn't involved with knowing the process of saving money, saving man hours, and then doubling the price of the product. And that's what I would look in and check into different things of being more efficient that way.
Thank you, Mr. View. Mr. Mackey?
It's a very interesting question. It's very interesting to see what some of the people who are interested in serving on the city commission are saying tonight. We've operated for years with less staff than we need, and when we finally decided to address it, we ended up in a recall situation. We just added a 9th police officer because we've been going for about 5 years since I've been on the commission with officers working one alone, and we finally added another officer. So I question the sincerity of some of the people who are interested in serving on the city commission. We have, ever since I've been a member of the city commission, I've negotiated every labor contract with both of our unions. Commissioner Mattman worked with me and Commissioner Gay. And unfortunately, we've had to go for concessions from city employees. That's not a fun thing to do. So yeah, we're understaffed, but we can't afford anymore right now. And that's why we need to get very creative about growing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Mr. Mannanen?
Yes, through this last budget cycle that we've just adopted, we did add a public safety officer. We had a transfer from our public works to fill a void in the electrical department, which it was needed, I agree with. We also went from a part-time to a full-time clerk here at City Hall, which I believe was needed. But I do think in one area that we need staffing is public works. I think we could use at least one more person, and because we've got plenty of work, and the way the different departments cross over and help each other, I'm sure they're going to find some difficulties over the next year or two.
Thank you, Mr. Mannanen. Our next question will start with Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, with yearly increases in city employee retirement payments, what is your plan to meet these needs?
I don't know what that looks like. I've started going to more council meetings and looking at stuff to try to get a grasp of that, and it looks like there's already a plan in place to deal with that. Unfortunately, it looks like it robs from the rest of the budget. So I don't know how that's going to be dealt with. I just don't have enough information. I've not been close enough to the problem to really give a good answer.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. View?
Well, I know a little about the budget also. I just know that once I get the information, if I do, I would look at it to see what can be done, not to hurt the people that are retired now, or to hurt the people that have plans in place already. But somehow down the line, I've been involved with different negotiations, union steward, stuff like that, and I've watched what other cities have done throughout the last 5 years and how they have transformed some of the budget concerns on retirement into different processes for the employees, where they could get out of this huge debt that I think I don't even know what it is, but the needs of the city are eventually going to outweigh the needs of the people that it serves. And I'm afraid of that, and I think something really needs to be done about it. What right now? I don't know. I mean, you got unions and other employees. We just have to wait and see what happens. But I'd have a lot of good ideas after that.
Thank you, Mr. View. Mr. Mackey?
There are some city employees in the audience tonight, and city employees who are retired city employees in the audience tonight, and they've asked me if they're ever going to get a raise in their pension again. The honest answer is no. It's not very likely. They also could pay tax on their pension now, which never used to be the case. And yet, we still have a pension problem. And as far as information not being available, here's the sheet that was presented at budget time. It's available for everybody who wants to look at it. The numbers are very scary for the current city commission. They're going to crowd out the ability of the city to provide services and pay pensions. Therefore, we have to come together as a community and decide how we're going to address that concern, how we're going to hopefully grow our revenues by getting some people to live in this beautiful city on our waterfront to help pay the bills, because I won't be a part of cutting benefits any further. We've already negotiated fringe benefits away from city employees, and I have no problem with that, but I can't go after somebody's pension. That's wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Mr. Mannanen?
The city will continue to make employee retirement benefit payments. If the payments get too burdensome, we do have some options. In fact, we're looking at a possible option through within the MERS retirement system itself that might give us some relief for the short term. I think there could be the possibility of cutting services if the payments go through as projected. I think it's possible we could even dip into our electric fund. I think that's a possibility. or maybe some of both of those options. Those would be things that we wouldn't want to do, but the city would have those options.
Thank you, Mr. Matanen. Mr. Nemechek?
I understand the figures to be that this year we put $600,000 into this, and that at the current schedule, it looks like it peaks at about $1 million, which is $400,000 more than, obviously, than we paid now. I think with, as Hugo said, there's a possibility of a hybrid plan that might lessen some of the burden and take away some of the peak. Also, our tax base hopefully is going to grow a little bit, and also our investments in the fund hopefully will grow some. And we may have to sell some assets, but you know, I think the lakefront assets are the most sensitive, but we do have a large tract of land by public safety that hopefully will be developed, and that is quite large. There's also lots along the back road to the high school. There are, and of course we have the industrial park. That'd be a great place to sell some assets so we can get some business up there. But it's a combination of all those things.
Thank you, Mr. Nemechek. Our next question will start with Mr. View. Mr. View, would you consider selling city assets, such as real estate, to raise funds?
I don't know if I like city assets if they're parks or stuff like that. If it's real estate, industrial park, other commercial development areas, lots that the city owns, things like that, yeah, I think the city wants to sell stuff like that now. I think they have a policy in place to sell it. It's just a hard time. It's just hard to find some type of business or individual that wants to invest that amount of money at this point, because money's tight all over the place, you know. I don't know what other assets they have to sell. You want to sell the city hall? No. You know, places, you know, to build a new one. I am not interested in spending more money than we have. I just think that if we can just come together to realize that we got to tighten our belts a little bit and figure out a better way to do things using technology or whatever we have out there, that would be my way of doing things.
Thank you, Mr. View. Mr. Mackey?
I absolutely would consider selling city assets such as real estate if and only if there's a proper plan in place that would positively increase our tax base and at the same time make it more attractive for additional investment in our community. We're not like our neighboring city of Escanaba. Excuse me, Mr. Tall, the mayor of the city of Escanaba, was in the audience. They have the ability to attract commercial investment in a greater degree than Gladstone does. So the well-planned use of our waterfront areas is a natural thing to do and has a potential to attract residential and small business investment that would be positive for the community and its tax base. But I would add that I'd never, ever support development of city-owned waterfront parcels unless the right of the public is maintained to access the water frontage, which they can do now. And I think that's a very achievable goal.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Mr. Matanen?
Yes, absolutely. If we have properties in the city that the commission, the staff, and the citizens of this community can decide the best use for is to sell and develop, and it makes sense, and we can improve our tax base, improve our community economically or otherwise, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Matanen. Mr. Nemechek?
Like I said earlier, there are some properties that, like the industrial park, like those lots along the back road to the high school, like the large tract of land over by public safety. And it would behoove us to do that so we could increase our tax base. I think that we should be maybe a little bit more proactive about that. When you talk about waterfront, there are some parcels that are more sensitive than others. And I think that that's a road we go down with public hearings. I know the Planning Commission has to get involved and all that, but I think those properties that I mentioned earlier, I think that we should be more proactive, and that I think we should try to develop that. It's a great place for condos. It's a great place for people to retire. And I think we should do it.
Thank you, Mr. Nemechek. Mr. Thompson?
I'd be all for selling and developing city properties, except for the public use properties like the Ball Diamond and Van Cleve Park and the campground. I'm definitely not in favor of ever letting any of those go. But I would want to have a good plan when I sold this property to make sure that it was developed in a reasonable amount of time, and, you know, that somebody didn't just clear it and put a building on it and let it sit there. I'd want it to be a productive use of the property as quick as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Our next question will start with Mr. Mackey. Mr. Mackey, will Gladstone wait until after May 5th election on Proposal 1 to determine if they will increase allowable taxes?
We are, the present city commission, assuming the city commission is still the same after May 5th, has a plan to roll out some possible waterfront development, ask for a millage question to be placed before the voters to be used only for capital items. The newest piece of equipment we have in our Public Works Department, and we've got well over $2 million worth of equipment there, the newest piece of equipment is over 13 years old. For the fire truck, to continue to renovate City Hall, to maintain City Hall, because we promised the voters we would stay in this historic building, and to build a new Public Works building. So that question will come after May 5th. And the present City Commission has also stated that we will also sit down and weigh the alternatives of where we would begin to cut if that is the will of the people. So yes, all of that will take place after May 5th by whoever is seated.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Mr. Mattinen?
Yes, if I'm still part of the commission, it would be one of my goals to put something forward after May 5th that would give the voters an opportunity to see what we need or what we think we need, along with their discussion, prioritize that. We've put some things out there. There may be some other things. There may be some that we would take off that list. And through that process, once we've identified as a community absolutely what we need to have, then we put it out to the community, and hopefully it would be sometime within the next 6 months, I would hope.
Thank you, Mr. Mattinen. Mr. Nemechek?
We wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't give the citizenry some alternatives and choices. And we have to identify costs, and we have to identify alternatives, possibilities, and then we have to give the citizenry a chance to vote on it. If we didn't do that, if we just sat back and let everything fall apart, then we wouldn't be doing our job. So yes, we will be giving people the opportunity to vote on a bond issue in November, which will be what Mayor Mackey talked about, and that will result in increased millage. But the people have a chance to vote on it. When we increased when the 1.8, which of course, as I said before, caused all this millage at 15.5, that's as high as we can go without. From now on, we have to contact the people. It has to be a vote of the people. So, but we would not be doing our job if we didn't give people the opportunity for that vote.
Thank you, Mr. Nemechek. Mr. Thompson?
I'm not a big advocate of raising taxes, and I'm sure that everybody can see that by now. I'm not saying that I would be opposed to it ever happening, but I would really like to look more thoroughly into it and understand it better myself. Right now, you know, I don't have a good understanding of how bad, you know, the city infrastructure really is. I've learned a lot of stuff within the last couple weeks about like the fire truck. I know the fire truck needs to be replaced. I know that without a doubt because I've gotten a lot of information on my own and I understand that. But a lot of the other stuff, I don't have a good understanding yet of how bad it is and whether, you know, the proposals up on the wall are exactly the right things to do. So I would like to dig into that deeper myself before I would, you know, go ahead and even present that to somebody. I would want to have a good, I would want to be able to convince somebody that you really need to do it before I spent, you know, $3.5 million of your money.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. View?
Raising taxes. It's a necessary evil sometimes. Is it proper to raise taxes for everything they want done right now? I have no idea. I'm not informed enough. If something needs to be replaced and I can be convinced by the citizens they want to raise taxes, do we have to raise, what is it, 3 point some mils? And everything needs to be done right now? if somebody must not have been doing their job, 10, 20, 30 years ago, when the items weren't maintained properly or replaced or funds set up to continue replacing the equipment at a 10-year or 20-year cycle of whatever their lifetime is. I don't know how that's done. I just know when I remodel a house, I can't do the whole house at one time. Bathroom's expensive enough. Go to what you can afford. And I would look at doing whatever the citizens would want to do, prioritizing and saving, and not going after everything at one time.
Thank you, Mr. View. Our next question will start with Mr. Mattinen. Mr. Mattinen, do you favor an austerity program?
An austerity program. Well, I think we're doing that somewhat, really. We're trying to put ourselves in a position where we can replace what's needed and stay ahead of it, without getting so far behind that we have a very difficult time climbing out of, like we do now. And so yes, I think we are trying to put that in place.
Thank you, Mr. Mattinen. Mr. Nemechek?
I grew up in the once great city of Bessemer, and there was 10,000 people when I lived there. It's now 2,000 people, and the austerity program there was they cut out police, they cut out fire, they rely on the sheriff. Insurance rates went up. City streets aren't maintained very well anymore. I think we have to give people the choice. As I said before, we have to give people the choice of whether they are willing to pay for Gladstone to remain a first-class citizen, a first-class city, or the alternative is that we have to cut services. And I think it's very important that we do our job and give people the opportunity. There's absolutely no reason why we can run the city of Gladstone for 2, 3, 4 mills less than everybody else. We can't do it. And Gladstone's the 10th largest city in Upper Michigan with a small tax base. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nemechek. Mr. Thompson?
I really don't know what the definition of austerity is myself, but listening to what everybody else said so far, I think we need to maintain the city, and we need to do it at a reasonable, as reasonable a cost as possible. And I really think there's alternatives out there to, buying everything at once. And, I think that we need to look at those. We need to look at them hard. Out in industry, I mean, over down the road there, we'd love to have brand new paper machines, but we just don't have them. And, we can't just go buy everything we want all at once. We have to do things in small steps, and we have to do things as efficient and productive as possible. And sometimes we have to do it with a lot less people than we used to. We've got jobs now that or people that are doing the jobs of 3 people where before they weren't. And we're doing that because we need to maintain the infrastructure and make sure that we can still provide the services that we need to provide.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. View?
Geez, I was hoping this one never came to me. What is austerity program? What does that mean? Anyone can tell me, or do I just have to answer by what I heard?
You're on your own.
I'm on my own, eh?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, well, I really don't know what it is, so I cannot comment on something. I mean, it sounds, I don't even know what it sounds like or what it means on some of the stuff that was said, because I don't want to give you something, to say something I don't know nothing about, and I don't, so I apologize for that.
Thank you, Mr. View. Mr. Mackey?
The question is, do you favor an austerity program? And again, I have to call a couple of our candidates on this. We've been operating on an austerity program. You either believe that or you don't believe that. And it's really, that's what the question is for the election. When you have pieces of equipment that are used every day, to heavy equipment that's a minimum of 13 years old, when you have a fire truck that direly needs to be replaced and your firemen tell you it needs to be replaced, And when you can see your public works building falling apart, and when you know that you promised the people you're going to stay in City Hall and you're going to have to maintain the building, that's austerity. And it's not leadership to say you want to study the matter further. That's austerity. This community's been living on austerity for a long time. And we plan, if the commission stays in place, to put that before the people and ask the people what they want to do about it. We all know we can't keep kicking the can down the road. We've been operating for the last 6 years that I've been on the commission on austerity budgets, and this is the product of it. Things are falling apart.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. We'll start our next question with Mr. Nemechek. Mr. Nemechek, how can the commissioners improve communication with the public?
Good question. I think that the first thing we should do is have our commission meetings live on television. I think that more and more people have asked me for that, and I think that's something we should consider. And I think that alone, you know, the paper and the television, they all do a good job of covering our meetings. But I think that would really be the primary way to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Nemechek. Mr. Thompson?
I really think getting it back on TV would be a good idea too, because I know there's a lot of times that when I get home from work, you know, it's hard to run up here to a meeting. It'd be nice to just be able to watch it on TV and know what's going on. I'd also like to, it would be also nice if we had archived access to a lot of the recordings of the city commission meetings going way back. I know we have a nice website, but it doesn't always have the information that we want on it. You know, it'd be nice to have more information on there, maybe some articles on, you know, why we're doing things, and you know, you wouldn't have to try to pick through meeting minutes and stuff to get it, you know. So I think we have the tools, we just need to use them a little bit better.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. View?
Communicating with the citizens, I would basically just make myself available whenever somebody wanted to talk about any issues, listen to them. I know they got modern technology now, emails, stuff like that. They even got texts. I learned how to text last year. I do a lot of it now instead of talking. I got 2 ears, so I can listen twice as much as talking sometimes. But on television, if that's what the people want, if they really don't want to come to the commission meetings, I've been to a few, not many in the last few years, because I got upset over a lot of stuff, and I just didn't want to get involved and not have a good night's sleep sometimes. A lot of times I'm really happy what they do. But if that's what they want, and if they feel that's a good way to get information outside of the paper, the radio, or just talking to the commissioners, I know they all open their doors for that. They just need to be involved and get a hold of us.
Thank you, Mr. View. Mr. Mackey?
Communicating is the hardest thing people do, and it's very easy to get hard feelings. The City Commission maintains an email website. I'm on it every day, and I get contacted all the time. I'm very visible in the community, in my church community, in service clubs. I can't tell you how many times during the day someone stops and says, I want to talk to you about the city of Gladstone, and a lot of them aren't very happy. I have no problem putting it on TV, but I can tell you, my wife is in the audience right now, and she would tell you that when you're on the city commission, especially when you're the mayor, you are fair game, and if you don't like that, it's time to get out. The only reason why I'm running for office again is because I believe we can pull this off. I believe we can correct the financial difficulties we have by growing our community in a way that is done with everybody's satisfaction or general satisfaction. So communication, that's what we have to do every day. Are there problems with communication between the city and the citizens? Absolutely. I try to be a go-between between the staff and any citizen who ever gets a hold of me. If someone gets mad and starts yelling or whatever, I don't take it personal.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Mr. Mattinen?
It is interesting in today's world we have so many forms of communication that it's almost information overload at times, but I do think that the live television is probably number one, has been stated by most of the people up here. And the other thing is for people to come to these meetings more often that we have and discuss things that are on their mind, things that they're hearing out there. If they have a concern, you know, it takes a little bit of effort on everyone's part, or at least you know, the more people that take part, better communication we can actually have, the better discussion we can have, and the better problem solving we can have. Because, I mean, we all have ideas, but it's exchange of ideas and that openness that brings out the best solutions, you know. So, more participation by everyone, really.
Thank you, Mr. Mattinen. We're down to our final question of the evening, and we will start with Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, what are your 5 top financial priorities for the City of Gladstone, and how will you implement them?
My top 5 financial. I think that the fire truck is very important, and even if the city has to keep getting the additional millage that it had last year, the fire truck has got to be replaced because it's just too old, and you know, parts aren't available. The engine's not what it should be. As far as everything else goes, I think that, you know, we should be picking these things off one at a time, not trying to buy everything at once, and we should try to do it within the budget. But you know, I'd have to have a good, thorough, better understanding of you know, of we're all. Oh. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. View?
Top priorities, top 5 for the city of Gladstone. Financially. Well, number 1, public safety, public health. You also have to, the citizens, that's a big financial thing. You can look at it that way. Satisfying what the citizens' needs are, not their wants, but the needs to make Gladstone continue as Gladstone and grow. Equipment, all that stuff can be categories in one. Just prioritize and also set up a plan where the stuff is maintained to the top condition it can be, and partnership with other places. I thought there was a new fire truck bought that it wasn't too far from Gladstone and stuff like that. Why can't we prioritize and look at who's buying new and then we buy on off, you know, 5 years or something? Other than that, I'm pretty not informed on what is needed by the city, you know, as far as mandatory or what the citizens actually want. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. View. Mr. Mackey?
The number 1 priority is to grow our tax base, and like I said, that's the only reason why I'm involved in the commission. I believe we as a community can grow our tax base. I believe there are a lot of cities that, even if they wanted to grow their tax base, they don't have the assets that anybody would be interested in developing. And we can do that in a responsible manner. The 1.8 mills that has got us here tonight, otherwise we wouldn't even be having this meeting tonight, is now unanimous among the city commission. We all on the commission, including the 2 commissioners who are not subject to recall, feel that that's an important item that we did last year. It's really interesting now that the fire truck is everybody's favorite priority, because it wasn't always. This city commission had to fight for that fire truck for our fire department. I told our firemen, you better get out to the meetings because there are people who are not in favor of that fire truck. So I hope they remember that. Public Works equipment, when the newest piece of equipment is 13 years old, it seems strange to me that we still got to talk about whether we're trying to replace it all overnight. We have a plan, it's right up there on the board, to replace the Public Works equipment in a very responsible manner. We just hired a new employee, Mark Palega, who's doing really, really good things with the Public Works Department. He has an excellent plan to replace the equipment in a responsible manner. City Hall, I've indicated, we promised the voters when they asked us to stay in this building that we would stay in this building and we'd do the necessary repairs because it's an old building. And the Public Works building, it's been suggested that we try and retrofit that. That building was shot 20 years ago. Those are my financial priorities.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Mr. Mattinen?
I would have to say that my top 2 priorities would be the public works equipment replacement, and that goes, and the fire truck would be along with that. And then also our streets maintenance and repair program. Those would be the 2 things that would be my priority. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mattinen. And Mr. Nemechek?
Everything's pretty much mentioned, what I was going to say. Streets, obviously, I mean, I had to dodge potholes getting here. You know, there are some that are really bad. Equipment, when we have 25-year-old snowplows running around and fire trucks that can't make the hill without struggling, there's a problem. Building, obviously. I think, though, that, as I said in that video, they asked me to be in that video, and as I said in the video, I'm retired now, and I could live wherever I want to live, but I choose to live here because I love living here. I like the lake. I like everything about it. I like the people. And I think anything we can do to increase the quality of life even more than it is, and I think maybe that's where the trail comes in. It'd be great to walk down that trail, and there's going to be rest areas and places to fish, and I think quality of life is sometimes overlooked. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nemechek. We have now come to the final minutes of the forum when each of our candidates will be given 1 minute to make a closing statement. Candidate View, will begin with you. You have the floor for 1 minute. You may begin.
All right, I'm running for city commission. I think everybody here is almost on the same page. We just have different ways of going about to do it. They all love Gladstone. We all love investing in Gladstone. We all want Gladstone to grow. My whole life, I struggled many times. Very few times did I have it just made to have things handed to me or anything. Time is money, and money is time. So I put a lot of time into everything I do. It made my businesses and things I've done successful. I'm getting older in life. Everything that I do now, it seems everybody wants a little more piece of it. So I wanted to get on the commission just to use some of the qualities that I've learned how to struggle through getting things without having the money, to see if I can put some of that expertise that I've learned for myself to be successful to utilize with the other people of the city and the citizens. I know who I'm voting for, and I would vote for anyone here if but we'll see what happens. Thank you. Goodbye. See you later.
Thank you, Mr. View. Mr. Mackey?
As I indicated, it's very unfortunate that we're here tonight. I would imagine if someone sticks a petition in somebody's face and says, your taxes are raised, wouldn't you like to sign a petition? I think I'd probably sign that too. But if I didn't know the facts, it might change my decision. As I indicated, my own personal property taxes increased by far more than the average, and I figure that's my contribution to the community that I care about. That's why I'm running for the city commission, because I believe we as a community can pull together and we can make this work. I would also add that a lot of people probably aren't aware that the increase in property taxes can be offset by the Michigan Homestead Property Tax Credit. Get a hold of me if you want to. Even if you don't choose to vote for me, I can show you how to save that meager increase in property taxes that the city commission passed. I would point out again, the whole city commission now is in favor of that 1.8 mils. They weren't at the time because they weren't sure the money would be spent in the priorities that we as a commission felt it should be spent in. So it's pretty much unanimous. We have to do something or we're going to have some big problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Mr. Mattinen, you have the floor for 1 minute. You may begin.
The sky isn't falling. We have some challenges and we have some obstacles, but through that process there's sometimes great opportunities. And I mean, this is a wonderful community. We have lots of potential. We just have to figure it out as a community what we're going to do to make it better. And whether I get elected or not really isn't that important, but something you can do to really help all of our communities. And I'm just going to put another plug in for Proposal 1. It's not only good for the short term, it's good for the long term for this entire state, for this community, for all our communities. And really, May 5th, I would just encourage you to really learn all you can about Proposal 1, because it may be one of the most important factors in the near future, foreseeable future, that can really help the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mattinen. Mr. Nemechek, you have the floor for 1 minute, beginning now.
Thank you. I got involved in the city commission a year and a half ago. I didn't really know what I was getting into, but my friend said I was a little crazy for doing it. But I've been very impressed with the city of Gladstone, its employees. We now have one person doing what two people used to do in relation to water and sewer and the electrical and the public works. And it works. I think we have a good staff. I've been very pleased with that, but I was surprised. I was surprised when I got involved the financial situation of the city, and that we kind of let things go, and it kind of you kind of walked into kind of a muddle. It doesn't mean we can't get out of it. And I think the important thing is that we do our job, and we give people the choice, the alternatives, and sometimes. Thank you. I was going to say sometimes millage gets a bad term, but it is progressive. Or a lot of people don't pay any property tax.
Thank you, Mr. Nemechek. Mr. Thompson, you have the floor for 1 minute, beginning now.
I really like living in Gladstone. I like the UP. I've been out of the area in the Air Force, and I've seen a lot of different parts of the country. And we worked our way back here because we really like Gladstone and we like living here. And I know Gladstone faces a lot of challenges, and there's differing opinions on how to deal with those challenges. And this is earlier than I really wanted to run for city council. I wanted to study this a lot more for a few more years before I took this plunge or tried to seize this opportunity, but it came up early. So I think I can learn a lot and possibly bring a different perspective to the table, and that's why I'm running for city council. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Each of our candidates has now made his closing remarks. Thank you once again for participating in the forum this evening. We hope that the audience has found this evening informative and helpful in determining whom they will vote. Please make your voice heard by voting in the Tuesday, May 5th election. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. For those unable to be present at the polls on Tuesday the 5th, absentee ballots for the Gladstone election can be obtained at Gladstone City Hall. The last day to obtain an absentee ballot and take it home will be Saturday, May 2nd. The office will be open from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. The last day to obtain an absentee ballot, but you must vote in the office on that date, is Monday, May 4th. If you need additional election information, call the administrative office at 428-2311. Our thanks again to Charter Communications and WDBC Radio, who provided airtime this evening. This program will be rebroadcast on Charter Cable Channel 188 on Monday, April 20th at 3 p.m., Thursday, April 30th at 2 p.m., and Monday, May 4th at 2 p.m. WDBC WYKX will rebroadcast this at tomorrow evening at 6:30 p.m. Again, thanks to the City of Gladstone, the candidates, pages, timers, screeners, and the audience. An additional note, the League program on Proposal 1 will be held April 27th at 7 p.m. at Bay College. It will include a PowerPoint presentation giving pros and cons and will give an opportunity for questions. For the American Association of University Women, the Delta County League of Women Voters, and the Delta County Area Chamber of Commerce, who sponsored this evening's forum, I'm Shannon Taylor. Thank you and good night.